Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. So this has been a long time coming. It has definitely been super put off and I feel really bad about it, but at the same time, better late than never. So remember back when I had my eyebrush kind of collection overview and declutter? Well, in that video, I did spend a little bit of time talking about the Rephr brushes I had and how I wasn't super satisfied with them and that I didn't really recommend them. So basically I roasted them. A light roast, I would say. Not like burning anything to the ground, just, you know, a little bit rare, medium rare is pretty much all I went for. But basically I just said I think they're just kind of overhyped. Well, after that, Rephr actually got a hold of me and they wanted to send me another one of their Rephr 21s because I especially was really disappointed with that, and B, they sent me a couple of brushes they thought would be really flattering for monolids. It was really generous of them. I totally wasn't expecting it. They did send, you know, a good amount of brushes. I was definitely really blown away by how receptive they were to my feedback, and I didn't even know that they had watched it, so I was just really amazed that they actually would send that to me. Yeah, so I'm trying to find which ones got sent to me. I got sent a couple of different brushes. So I got sent a brush number 13. I got sent a second brush 21 because they were concerned that mine might have been defective. I got sent a brush 26, 27, and 28, and I also got sent their new brush holder, which I personally really like. So let me just quickly show you the brush holder and then we'll go on to the brushes. I currently have it separated into two brush holders because my storage system for my brushes, I don't need to use the lid, but it basically looks like this. It's a plastic. It doesn't really feel like uber luxurious or anything, like you're not getting any kind of Sonia G brush holder. But if I take out the brushes that are here, so if I take out these brushes that are in here, this is the bottom and this is the lid, but you'll actually notice that it is so long and thin that if you put all your brushes in here, nothing's gonna bump into the top, and so that means you don't have to worry about the bristles getting smushed or anything. So like I have cats, for instance, so if I needed to use this with the lid, that would keep my brushes free from just attracting all the cat hair in the air. Now obviously, as you can see, I don't need to use it that way, and so one thing that I've noticed is that Sonia G's brushes have distinctly shorter handles than other kind of cheaper synthetics on the market, and so I actually have found that the bottom half of this is the perfect holder for my Sonia G brushes because the bristles aren't going to push, because the standard cups I use, the bristles will get pushed and deformed by sitting against the side of the cups. And you know, natural hair is nice, but you really do kind of have to treat it like it's your own baby. And similarly, the Rephr handles are pretty short too, so if I put a Rephr brush in here, you'll notice again the bristles don't have any chance of leaning against anything. So I personally actually really enjoy having this, and I'm not using it the intended purpose, but I still really like it. For the other half currently is storing my natural hair face brushes. Those do tend to have significantly longer handles, so you can see here that only the heads poke out, and yeah, I really like it for that purpose. So that's what I use the brush holder for. Okay, so now moving on to the brushes. So let me just first go over the brushes I have purchased myself, so that way you guys can kind of see those. So the brushes I have purchased myself would be the Rephr 01. I have two of the 3s, and then I bought a 13 and a 14 and a 21. So these are the ones I purchased myself over the course of several months. I just would buy like a brush here, a brush there, anytime they were 40% off. So I'll just go over them one by one. So the 01 mine is a little bit deformed because I accidentally put it in the wrong cup, but it'll go back to normal. The first one, 01, looks like this, and it has that nice flat but also fluffy shape to it that I personally think is one of the most monolid friendly shapes ever. So as a comparison, here is the Sonia G Worker 1. Mine's is dirty, and you can see it's similar. It's got that flat shape, but when you turn it to the side, it's not completely flat. And so I find that because of the way that this is shaped from the side, it just can hug my monolid perfectly. So this is like better than a fluffy blending crease brush for me. This I use to blend and fluff out my eyeshadow, not a standard crease brush. I prefer these much more. You're gonna see the difference here is that the Rephr one is far more diffuse, and then when I turn it to the side, that it's a little bit thinner. The Worker from Sonia G is significantly softer, and I will say, considering the price differential of buying Rephr 40% off and even full price, versus Sonia G, which is never on sale, you are talking about a pretty significant price differential here. Sonia G is one of the most expensive natural hair brushes I have ever personally purchased. So it only stands to reason that Sonia G would, for me personally, make one of the best natural hair brushes that I've ever tried. So if you have the money to spend, this really is just superior all around. But that you're talking about, I mean, this is like, I think this was like over $30 for just this one brush, whereas if you get this 40% off, you are spending under $20. That's a significant price difference. This is still really nice. I will say my Sonia G brushes are far less prone to fraying in the wash. I use brush guards to dry all of my natural hair brushes. I wash my natural hair brushes maybe once every 2 months at most, and if I'm using super bright colors, I will use my synthetics, or I have like my Sephora kind of Rephr brush cleaner, and I use that with a paper towel to just gently wipe pigments off, and I don't fully wash them, literally like as infrequently as possible. So yeah, that's kind of the comparison for brush number 1. Overall, I do really like this. I do use this a lot. I'm gonna cover brushes 13 and 14 together because they're basically the same brush, just different sizes, and I kind of feel the same way about both of these. So brush 13 is going to be on top and brush 14 is on bottom. These are both your standard round-headed quote-unquote crease brushes. As you can see, brush 14 at the bottom, the bristles flare out more, are more diffused and less dense, whereas with brush 13 you can see very little spreading out of the bristles even towards the head. I was sent another brush 13, so I have 2 just because the founder of Rephr thought maybe the 13 would be kind of something that might work for monolids. So my feedback here would be that I don't agree. I don't think this would work because monolids are a very flat surface and this head is very domed and small. What can this reach and blend on a monolid versus the large, flat, fluffy surface of the 01? I can use this to just reach across my entire eyelid, whereas with this, I have so much less room. This is not gonna be able to diffuse eyeshadow all across my eyelid at all because so little of its surface area touches me. I don't have a crease that this brush can reach into to blend. So if you have for example, if you have deep set eyes, if you have, I would think, like more Western hooded eyes, or if you just have a very pronounced crease, this brush will be tight enough to get right in there and really go back and forth in your crease. So that's what this would be really good for. Now, is this a completely useless brush for monolids? No, it's not. For example, if I want to create an extremely tight winged shadow, this is still good for that. And if I want my lower lash line to be a little bit more blown out than normal, this is small enough that I can just whip it across my lower lash line and create a diffused lower lash line. So not completely useless, but I don't use this for its intended purpose. I don't think it works for monolids for that purpose at all. And the same would go for 14. If I want to use this, so if you pretend that my hand right here is my monolid, then I have to actually use it like this, where I lay the entire diagonal across my lid. I'm not using the tip at all. I actually approach it at this angle so that the entire diagonal of the head is on my eyelid. And so for that, this is fine. Similarly, I have a Sigma brush. This brush right here from Sigma similarly has that wide diffused head. Again, I can just use it at an angle and it works just fine. Obviously, I still would prefer the flatter paddled shapes like the 01 I mentioned earlier. So it's not useless. It's just, I just don't think it's necessarily monolid friendly. Like I can retool it, repurpose it, whatever, but not really. Like I wouldn't say it's the best monolid brush ever. And now onto 03. Now I bought 03 twice. I think that should tell you enough. I don't really need to speak anymore, but the 03 I think is Rephr's best brushes ever. I don't think Rephr has ever made a better eye brush than 03, and I need like a million. I'm not even joking, I need like 10, so that way I can have 10 different inner corner highlighters of 10 different colors before I need to wash these and reuse them, because I use these so often that I do actually have to wash these quite often. And that's how I know that Rephr's bristles are pretty durable, because these have been through the wash enough times and been cleaned enough times, and they have not lost their shape like at all, which is incredible. So here is a close-up of the 03s. You can see they are teeny tiny little pencil brushes. And now I love these so much for lower lash line work because they are so soft. So like if I rub it against my hand, you can see the bristles will bend back and forth against my skin, not scratchy at all. The other thing that's really great about these is, so I have epicanthic folds that creates a very flat surface on my inner corner, and that means that standard inner corner highlight brushes don't always work for me. So this is the perfect brush. Here, I'll show you guys. I lay it flat. Again, I use the diagonal, I don't push the tip in, I lay it flat like this, and do you see how it fits right against that? It is literally a perfect fit. And that is how I use it. It is just the ultimate inner corner highlight brush for me. I couldn't use anything else. I'm so spoiled. It also is great for defining the under lash line. You guys know I love the Korean trend of aegyo-sal, so I will use it to just pop in eyeshadow right here. The point is fine enough to do that, and yet it doesn't scratch my eyes. My eyelids can be very sensitive. And lastly, and I don't do this very often just because I use this for inner corner highlight, so if I use a dark shadow with it, I have to, you know, like wash it all off. But you can see here that like I did do it. It's really great at creating a very tight winged eyeshadow on the outer corner. And I need to go back and buy like another 8 of these so that I have 10. I'm not even joking. I need 10 of these total, like right now. Okay, lastly, let's talk about these 21s. So I bought one myself and then I didn't like it. Like I literally didn't like it at all. So they sent me a second one. So here you can see the two and I will show it to you closer. The top is the one that I bought. The bottom is the one that got sent to me. So you can see the top one, the shape is a little less rectangular than the bottom one. You can see the top one, it's a little bit smaller, a little bit less rectangular. The bottom one has more of a rectangle shape. So there's definitely some discrepancies between each brush. Since they are handmade, you're going to see these differences. I don't know if that means mine was defective or not. Now I have used both brushes and I gotta say, I know this is gonna come across as really disappointing. I feel like the one that got sent to me is maybe marginally better, but I still just didn't feel like I was getting the results I saw from other people's videos. I just can't seem to make that work. I wonder if it might be down to my primer or my eyelid type. You guys know I have such dry eyelids, so it could potentially just be that this brush was not made for my skin type even. You know, at this point, having had 2 and having really, it doesn't perform better enough that I can consider this one to have been defective. I wonder if these just might not work for me. So take of that what you will. Obviously for 40% off, it's worth a try, I would say. But yeah, I just have such a hard time trying to get this to work. It breaks my heart. I am gonna keep trying. I'm very stubborn. I'll keep trying. But in the meantime, that is just kind of my update. It's puzzling, and this is like, you know, usually if I don't like something, I'll stop using it. But in this case, I'm just so determined to try and make myself like it because I literally am like feeling like I'm crazy because literally everyone else loves this brush. So makes me wonder if I'm crazy. So that's my verdict on the 21. Can't tell if it's me or the brush, but not working for me. So now let's move on to the other 3 brushes that were sent to me. So this is gonna be brushes 26, 27, and 28. So I'm gonna go over them one by one. So this is brush 26, and it is just basically the big fat version of the 03. So here's what it looks like, and I'm going to bring up an 03 so you can see the comparison. So here's an 03, and look how much bigger the 26 is compared to the 03. You can see that size difference. Now, because of the size difference, it can still fit, so I can still use it. I mostly use this on my lower lash line because it can cover a wider surface area than the 03, so I don't have to do as many passes, so I really like it for that. It's really great at just applying eyeshadow in the outer corner. I can lay it flat. I can lay the whole thing flat because it's so much longer than the 03. I can lay the whole thing flat, and I can blend across my eyelid using that. So this is a really great multi-purpose brush, and again, just like the 03, if I use the very, very, very point, it is still just so soft and has that nice amount of give so that it doesn't scratch. So the 026 and the 03, the 26 and the 03 both are just superstar brushes. I love these. The 03 is definitely the one I want more of just because it has such a specific purpose and I always need an inner corner highlight, whereas the 26 is more whatever I feel like I need to fit it in for. It does a great job. So I don't feel like I need as many of these. I still love this. I feel like the whole pencil shape thing is like just Rephr's biggest specialty at this point. So if you ever want want to buy a brush from Rephr that is shaped like this, you probably are gonna get a wonderful brush. I don't know what it is about Rephr and their pencil shape brushes, but they're always so perfect. So love the 26, love the 3. Those are definitely like my top recommendations from them. Now let's move on to the 27. So the 27 is a giant fluffy blending brush. So you can see here it has that shape I was talking about earlier where it's so diffused, super fluffy. It is just very, very, very soft, very airy. And again, because it has such a diffused large head, I can use this to blend on my monolids just fine. So I would consider this to be a monolid friendly blending brush. Gets an A+ from me. You can see that I can just lay it across my eyelid. Again, I use the entire angle of the head of the brush. I don't just use the tip, and I can just blend back and forth, and it's so soft and so easy. I will say Rephr's bristles are notably stiffer and scratchier than Sonia G's bristles. Like if you go straight from Sonia G to Rephr, you will notice a difference. However, what that does mean is that these are really great, kind of what people would call a workhorse brush, where it's not the softest in the world, but softer isn't always better. So these will really hold on to the pigment and they'll move the pigment around. So yeah, I really like the 27. This again, I would say is a good brush. I feel like for the price, it kind of feels of a similar quality to Sigma's blending brushes, and I know Sigma is really well known for, in particular, their blending brushes. So I can't necessarily say I would say go out and get this immediately, because if Sigma's having a sale, then their blending brushes are cheaper, and you know, for being synthetic, they obviously will also be a lot less maintenance. So that's kind of why I'm just like, I like them, but I couldn't necessarily like super recommend it, because you could just go get Sigma and then you'd have a lower maintenance brush, and the difference in quality is really not that noticeable because Sigma is actually like really good. So that's kind of just my final 2 cents on it, but I am definitely super happy I have it. I use it. I like it. And then lastly, I got sent the 28. Now the 28 is very reminiscent of the 21, where it is this flatter shape. So you can see here that it has a head that now it's not a perfect rectangle, it is curved at the end, and then look how flat it is on the side. So I'm kind of torn about this one because it seems like it would be a packer brush, but it almost has too few bristles that are not put together densely enough to pack on pigment very well. And then it's not really super great at picking up metallics either. So it's like it wants to be a packing brush, but it's not quite built to actually pack things. If you want to put on eyeshadow and you don't want to put on too much eyeshadow, like you definitely just want a nice sheer layer, you want to build your shadows up, you want to be able to put on a little bit and then blend it out really well, then this is definitely a really good packing brush for that. It's not going to overdo it. You're not going to scare your pants off when you put the pigment on and you're like, oh no, Instagram thumbnail, like kind of a thing. Like you're not going to do that to yourself with this. So I still definitely have uses for it, and you can definitely tell that mine is stained because I have used it often enough, particularly for vibrant colors I want to tone down. So I still personally really like it because, you know, I like color, but most of the time my comfort zone is just a nice buildable neutral, and so this is really good for just really making sure that my shadows stay nice and buildable, so I can build up a bunch of sheer layers as opposed to just being like throwing eyeshadow on my face. If you want like a better packing brush, I would suggest that you go with, and you want like natural hair, then I would suggest you go with something from Sonia G. One of her worker or builder brushes is probably going to be your best bet. Those are much more densely packed and they really can lay on a thick opaque layer of eyeshadow. So just my recommendation there. I know it's expensive. And if you also are willing to, I haven't bought from Hakuhodo just because of this problem, but if you are willing to really take the time to look through their database, they have hundreds of brushes, and really read through everything, make sure it's something that you want, that fits your needs. Hakuhodo has amazing brushes all around as well. It's just a little bit more difficult to like find what you want. It can be a little overwhelming to look through their database, whereas Sonia G, because it's so fairly new, her collections are very curated. You're almost also, not only for the quality that's expensive, you're also kind of paying for her curation. So her sets are very easy to understand, her eye brushes are very easy to understand, and you don't get as overwhelmed looking through her stuff. So, you know, if you're willing to kind of parse through everything, then obviously Hakuhodo is great. So yeah, my favorite packing brushes, not necessarily from Rephr. If they do ever make a denser packing brush, kind of more along the lines of the Builder, or even like one of Sigma's packing brushes even, then I'd totally be down for it. I hope that helped you guys. I mostly wanted to post this video also just to say thanks to Rephr again for sending me these brushes. I am really sorry it took me so long to get this video pulled together, but I have just had an absolutely absolutely ridiculous summer full of way too many things that shouldn't need to all happen literally in like the same summer. So I hope that this helped you guys if any of you guys were considering Rephr, or if you just wanted to like learn more about my brush preferences, now you know, and some of my other recommendations, now you know. Feel free to ask me questions about anything other about brushes, like if you have questions, if I've tried them, I'll let you know what I thought about them. So yeah, that's it. I don't really have anything else to say other than I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!